Mommy, Mommy, look, I made a drawing. It's Ariel from The Little Mermaid. Isn't it good? Um, well, dear, I actually prefer the original Little Mermaid story by H.C. Andersen, not the Disney version so much. And when it comes to your drawing, do you know what drawing I really like? The one you did last week, outside of the dog. I think you should do more of those. I guess my drawing wasn't as good as I thought. Mr. Condester, fellow Toastmasters and guests, I know my mother loves me with all her heart, and I love her, but I always felt like there was some kind of barrier between us. It was like she never really grasped my emotions, my passions, me. And don't we all need people in our lives who fully understand who we are? Well, luckily, there was somebody in my life who did. My grandma. Do you have fond memories of your grandmother? Everyone, please, if possible, just close your eyes for a moment and try to picture your grandmother. What did she look like? Did she have curly hair? Did she wear any jewelry? When you went into her house, where did you sit? How did you feel? If I had a time machine, I would without hesitation go back to my grandparents. I felt so safe here. In the morning, I would wake up with the smell of semolina porridge bubbling by the stove. It was always semolina porridge with a little pinch of sugar. In the afternoon, me and my grandmother would often bake something, and she would say, "When I was little, my favorite part was always when my mother let me lick the spoon, so here you go, have two." Raw cake dough is the best thing, isn't it? It cures anything. In the living room, there were two black leather armchairs side by side. I would curl up in one of them, and my grandmother would sit in the next one and read me stories like Winnie the Pooh, which we both loved. She would also tell me stories of her own childhood, how she loved languages and history, just like I did, how she would always wake up early, like I did. Oh, how I craved to become just like her because she understood what it was like to be me. As I got older, I got to hear her childhood stories more and more often. My grandma had dementia, and she started repeating the recollections of her past like a broken record. Eventually, she would start forgetting about people as well. And like a flower, losing its petals, piece by piece, the grandmother I once knew started to disappear. During her final year at the hospital, when I visited her, she didn't recognize me anymore. And eventually, 8 years ago, she passed away. I was sad, of course, but also prepared. Life goes on. Now, not so long ago, a strange thing happened. I was at the grocery store as usual when suddenly my eye was caught by a pack of cookies I hadn't seen for over a decade. It was the exact same cookies my grandparents always had in their cupboard. How could I forget that? Now, what was the thing Grandma always used to say? How about that story of the history teacher? It was hilarious, but how did it end? And you know what I realized? I I didn't really lose my grandmother when she started to forget me or even when she passed away. I was losing her now because I was the one starting to forget. But I couldn't let that happen. The first thing I did was browse through the entire store looking for other food items I could associate with my grandparents, and I took pictures of those. I called my parents and my brother, asking them to share every little piece of information they could give me, and I wrote them down. I went through family picture albums and all of the belongings that was left of my grandparents, including some letters she had written during my childhood. In one of the letters, she wrote, "Our granddaughter, Kirsi, is now 8 years old. She will often call us after school and say, 'Hi, Grandma, is Grandpa there? Can he pick me up? I'd like to visit you.' We love her very much." I love you too, Grandma, and I promise I won't forget you ever again. How about you? What are the memories that you want to keep alive? What are your semolina porridge moments, the smallest things that may seem so mundane but that contain magic? Don't make my mistake. Don't trust your ability to remember, but start recording those moments, starting today by taking pictures, not only on special occasions like this one, but also of the everyday things like the messy breakfast tables. Write down stories told by your loved ones. If possible, purchase the perfumes or hand creams that they use so that you can smell the memories. Because if you do that, if you manage to keep those semolina porridge moments alive, you also get to keep the magic that comes with them. The feelings of happiness and safety, and most of all, love.